the port at the time, and so some of the boats that had larger, capacity could not berth at the time at the port, and so they went to nearby countries and the stock in the country, the buffer stock that we had, depleted to quite a significant level. But there were no time that we had absolutely no rice in the country. There were some people attempting to, just create artificial shortage because they were clamoring for an increment in the price and all of that. But those situations now are being resolved. The government, it's quite under control. So for Larry Leonkwe, and he likes to talk about a crisis in the country, probably that is through his prism, through his perspective. There's absolutely no crisis in the country, and the president can take it because the president has to go and sort of, talk for other things to happen to the country. Bring other development needs we are lacking here. So who knows what might come out of the reciprocal visits that will be happening between the NPA and the port folks, or in fact, the large scale, the huge possibilities, that we might have from the president's visit to COP 27. Liberia has got, a major 40% of they call it the lungs of the war, of the Guinea forest. So yeah, we stand to benefit quite a lot. The president, has been championing the cause of Africa during the last conference that happened in Glasgow.
Yeah, COP26.
Yeah, so he has to be there, and also has to be at the Paris Peace Forum. So would you have rather that he comes back and go and comes back and go and what kind of toll that would have taken as far as expenditure is concerned?
Yeah, right.
Plus, you can take away the fact that the president is a global icon as far as international circle is concerned. So when the FIFA authority decide, well, you got to come and at least grace the opening ceremony, he's got to be there. So those are the things that it happened or happened around the same times. But we live currently now, they can call it the global village, right? We are interconnected, cell phone connection. What is it?
The technological revolution.
The technological revolution. So that's why they can, if I say in the government prayer release, you will be in charge of the cabinet in close consultation with the president, right?
Yeah, sure.
So he's going to be in close consultation with these people.
You see, the beauty of the president's representation at the COP26 has signaled a serious attention to Africa, as is being expressed by this COP27 that's to be held in Egypt. The president said that owing to the fact that Africa absorbs a good portion of the green gas emission, it is very important for us to also have a say, Baka, in the decisions made by the global body. So it has been discovered by these same international partners that Liberia, our forest, absorbs a great portion of the carbon emission. And as a matter of fact, we are the pathway through which the world breathes.
Yeah.
So these engagements, when the president travels, in his wisdom, he makes them, and in return, Liberia is not just the only country recognized, but from an African perspective, Africa is recognized. This is an embodiment of the struggle of Pan-Africanism. If you read the works of Pan-Africanists yesterday, it has always been an illustration of putting Africa at a place where the world recognizes her potential. The world recognizes that in the absence of Africa, many countries, other continents, may find some things very difficult. And this is clear.
Yeah.
So we just want to tell our people that every time President William makes a foreign travel, it is in the interest of the Liberian people. Yeah. It is in the interest of the African solidarity. Because at the end of the day, look at his presentation in Morocco.
Yeah.
The president said there that Africa needs to now sit down and work out modalities as to how to confront crises that we may not see coming.
Yeah.
We must be prepared as a continent so that we can be able to fight each other. And he made specific reference to how Liberia, how Mauritius, and Mauritania was able to become the first three. Imagine these African nations to reach herd immunity in terms of a damaging pandemic like COVID. So President Weah, in his wisdom, is doing very well in terms of representing his country, and we have seen the trickle-down effects in these developmental impacts. Look at the project that's coming to go on the way at West Point. How do we think it's going to be funded? It is from international engagement by the president. So if this president do not travel, as assumed by some of these lawmakers, how do we have the essence of our societal benefits that we see today? He has to do this, Boga.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And, just so we piggyback a bit, some of the times people are under the illusion that just because Liberia achieve, pass the scorecard, the scorecard, by the way, are specific indicators, they are data-driven. So there's no way you can manipulate the data and all of those stuff. So basically, the data will say what Liberia has achieved because they're data-driven. It's clear, it's evident for everybody to see. That will be out there. You can see it and say, oh yeah, obviously Liberia has passed, Liberia has failed. There's no other way around it. But it doesn't automatically equate to a compact. A compact will essentially mean that Liberia will be getting the grant, the large-scale grant, the U.S. grant. That's where a lot of people have to clamor for, and somewhere, along the line, that's where it can get really political in order to do different stuff. So, a lot of people clamoring for small set of resources, according to what the U.S. government is saying. Or the U.S. agency is saying, there's going to be a lot of machinations and maneuvers here and there by the different actors. So it doesn't automatically equate to that. And by the way, we should state that Liberia has passed the highest number of indicators. 12 of the 20 indicators since the Millennium Challenge started evaluating and publishing the scorecards. So this time around we passed the highest amount of indicators, and we did that under 4 years. So passing the highest number of indicators. And by the way, so some of the time people can say, oh, you achieved compact. By the way, we had a compact for 5 years, that ended in 2001. So how did you expect that people would have given you a second compact while the first compact ongoing? Anyway, so those are some of the things. But at least now we've gotten to that point. So don't let anybody tell you, say, oh, Liberia government corrupt. I mean, nobody's going to say there's absolutely no corruption, but the government is making a lot of strides, to address it. And corruption exists in every facet of different societies, even Western society, the Liberian society is no exception, and what have you. But what the government is doing to address it, I think those are some of the steps that were tracked, in this report. And it's not just the LACC, but there are different measures being taken. For instance, the GAC, which has a really young team right now, has been making a lot of strides lately, auditing, bringing the government past audit portfolio up to date. By the way, those things that the government needed to audit for some time, making recommendations, especially as far as the consolidated account is concerned, and all of that. So the government has been making a lot of strides, and these are the things that were captured. So don't just let people create a false perception, because that's one thing that's going to win election with. They just want to win election, so they'll say anything, they'll just throw anything at you. Oh, the government corrupt, because they have absolutely nothing else to go on. And guess what? The people who can talk about corruption, they will say, tell me, man. I mean, get you to go find play and say that, man. Yeah! But some of the people that can talk about corruption, they didn't find play. The Unity Party. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The last time I was on one of the networks and we're talking about this, and one of the pundits there said, oh, no, you don't even mention them, because with their system, it was a wholesale corruption. It was an institutionalized corruption, because, it was so institutionalized that it was happening here, there, yonder. You have other people providing justification why they can sack, that they can put a neck on chopping bull for some people. There were even allegations of people investing in Central African Republic, allegations of people buying homes overseas, paying mortgages and what have you. There were allegations of a whole oil company going down the drain, bidding for oil blocks, were shrouded in corruption and all of that, to the extent, even the forest sector, they were giving out contracts on to companies buying the whole, people that are making the laws. Remember the whole thing, the thing that Vani Sherman was,
Yeah.
how would they call it? The global witness.
The
The global witness situation and what have you. I mean, so when they're talking about corruption, the party people, they need to shut up.
But Baka, see this. So I was in studio with Julius there the other day, and the Unity Party Secretary General Amos were called to criticize the issue of our wage bill. But what he forgot that day was even the figure that he announced. Bunch of the monies that were allotted were going to individuals on the basis of sentiment. Think about this. John Brown is a janitor in the Ministry of Information. Paul is also a janitor. Paul makes $150. John makes $150. But if it comes to allowance, Paul makes $900 allowance, and John makes $100 allowance. Mm-hmm. That was the way they ran, this issue of salaries at a point in time. It was so disproportionate to the extent that people could vividly see it. So for us to come back and make a balance, you understand, and people still come and criticize, I think this is.
But do you know, one of the things, I mean, in the aftermath of that conversation that I listened to you guys on the radio, so I made some calls here and there, and one of the things that came up, so the intent of the government is to ensure that nobody, at this point, there is a specific threshold. Firstly, the aspiration is to make sure that everybody is above the minimum wage. The minimum wage that was set in the new law, I think, is $150 or so. But so far, they've achieved they've achieved the point where no civil servants are going to be making below 100. So that is the intent. The intention is to ensure that no civil servants will be making below 100. But after the harmonization process, which essentially meant, because there were all kinds of different payments that were done during previous regimes, so there were the official pay, then there was something called the discretionary allowance, special allowance, which was discretionary. In other words, it meant that the head of an agency could decide who he puts on
exactly, who gets how much.
And most of the time, those people, some of the times they hire firms, to do the cleaning, security, and they brought in drivers. People brought in drivers. All of them were paid on a special allowance basis. So those people didn't really go through the civil service.
No.
And so when they were doing the whole harmonization, the civil service. I mean, those people that were captured were people within the civil service who are going through the civil service process. But they couldn't leave out those on the special allowance. So they managed to add them on and maintain some sort of payment. But they're working on making sure that is fully harmonized too, because the intent is not to have anybody making below. So if you have some anomaly where you have people making 60, and by the way, I mean, firstly, I heard some people talking about 45. Maybe, I mean, I don't want to dismiss that, but I know that the folks at the Ministry of Finance have said, that's not possible. Maybe 60 USD plus some Liberian dollars, be 3,000 Liberian dollars. But most of the time, when they count the US dollar salary, they can't count Liberian dollar. Oh, you mean 60? No, but the Liberian dollar too para. Hey, my set go up, but para my salary in USD, other salary in Liberian dollar. So you got to count all. When you count your whole salary, that both the combination of both of them. So if you're talking about the whole salary, it should be 80, 90, and whatever you make, 60 in addition to the $30 or so thousand you make. But if there is an anomaly where somebody is making below, those things are the ones that are being brought up to the folks at the Civil Service Agency and those taking care of the whole harmonization process at the Ministry of Finance. So it's not like it's a willful, intentional practice. Maybe just a set of anomaly, in other words, a glitch in the, two big words. A problem in the system, that is causing what you're experiencing, at the moment. But the intent is to ensure that everybody is above the government's threshold. Make above the government threshold. Everybody makes above the government threshold.
And you're right. And also part of this, like I said, which of course I know in the future the Minister of Finance and the CSA people will also, talk more on this, is the fact that the idea of the harmonization was to bring all parties at an equilibrium, and then after a period of time, there will be a migration process in terms of, salary augmentation. So if everybody was brought, all janitors were brought at a level of 150 at a point in time, I'm just making an assumption, and then as government projects better in greater revenue and domestic debts and other aspects are taken care of, gradually people migrate. There will be immigration in those areas. So we are beginning to notice that. I'm sure they're starting to work on this. So for people to just criticize the entire process that today has brought some sanctity to some of the challenges that we've had economically, I mean, it's not going to be a fair thing, for us to say. So yeah, when the president traveled, like I still maintain, we have always benefited as a country.
Yeah.
I can challenge our brothers in opposition to show us a particular day or a particular trip that was made by this leader that there were no dividends. He doesn't go on leisure. Other presidents go on vacation. Okay?
Yeah.
President, he doesn't go on vacation.
I know, eh?
What if he was taking vacation? What would they say?
Oh, then that's smart, you know.
He doesn't go on vacation.
And other presidents. I mean, even the ones that lead the world take vacation.
Yeah, of course.
Go to Camp David. In fact, Trump used to do it when we go for golf practices.
Mar-a-Lago.
How they call it? Malago or something like that, yeah. Yeah, so our own president doesn't even, so, some other people saying that they shouldn't even take, because I understand his son's going to be playing in the opening session, Sunday of the World Cup. So, I mean, there are moments where somebody wants to see that. Any human being will do that.
But wouldn't they have done the same thing if they
Any
had
human being will do that. See some opening, playing the World Cup, something that eluded him. He never played the World Cup. And something, something of the sort. Anyway, let's open the lines again. But before then, I want to talk about, this crazy post from a lady that was saying,
this talent.
Anyway, some of the times, using crazy and lady in the same sentence. Anyway, but it's really crazy because there's no other description for it. She said she was sort of calling on the
armed forces of Liberia.
The armed forces of Liberia. She said, "Wake up
and take over.
Wake up and take over. Wake up and take over." I mean, everybody can tell. I don't need to go into the details of what she was calling for.
I'm going to find it.
But it's just odd. It's repugnant. It's sad that anybody will be making such claim. But this is from Tala Kuyongpa, the widow of the late Kuyongpa. You would think that anybody, if anybody would know the effect of such action, would be that person, right?
Yep.
For her to be the one writing like that on Facebook, it gives people started insinuating all kinds of things about what might have led to, the 1985 coup, who might have led Kuyongpa to A and all of the different stuff. Because if his widow will start calling on the AFL, because it's like trash talking. I don't think it's something we need to even elevate further because, firstly, the level of democracy that currently exists in the country, it doesn't even give room for that. AFL has been enormously transformed. It's a force for good now. It's a democratic army. Plus the second, Liberia currently has a system that allows for, change of governors. If you don't like them and all of that, through the ballot box and what have you. So, it's not like the 80s. It's no longer like that. So for anybody to be making those kind of references and then claiming to be a supporter of Tiawan Gonglo, because she's openly a supporter of Tiawan Gonglo.
Yes.
And Tiawan hasn't repudiated what she said up to this point. It's telling.
But let me tell you what I think he did, because I read and I'm going to read this.
Cool.
She came back. Okay? So it means that he must have called her and said, "Look, this thing is very embarrassing. I want you to come up and make a retraction." But even the retraction that she's made, it's not a sensible one.
Okay.
Listen to this. Thanks to all of my comments, for the comments on my posts. My statements were misjudged by many on here. My postings never called for overthrow of a legitimate regime in Liberia. Judging from our past...
Oh, she knows it's legitimate?
Just imagine that. Judging from our recent past, I see why some will misjudge my statement. I was calling for the AFL to intervene and help with mechanized farming. Really? Really? As well as in the latest 2022 recruitment process, which is in chaos since... Can you imagine this?
Because what I heard has happened is created problem within her own family.
Of course.
Some of her kids are distancing themselves and all of the different stuff. But it's just sad. Let's open the lines for the last few minutes and then we can close up today's edition of the show. Call us on 080-514-096, 080-514-096, or 086-561-537. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Fofana.
Your name, where you calling from?
This is Mawate calling from New Jersey, Popo Defender.
Oh, Mawate. How New Georgia?
Yeah, God, thank you. I want to tell you thank you this morning in studio.
Okay.
I want to tell you thank you. I tell ELBC family thank you.
Okay.
Master Fofana, I tell you thank you. Let God give you more grace for you to educate us, to educate our people.
I know.
I want to tell Samuel to thank you. I want to tell you thank you. That the thing when the opposition see the one that was telling President we have to move Samuel 12 for a ranking.
I know that is.
Samuel 12 comments the like people he said before December you will see how happy they
3 years of pressure.
I want to tell you thank you. And I pray for our president they play him go every time he will stay there every that he will travel everywhere he will stay down. The food you eat and water you drink. Let God take absolute control over his life and let God set our country. They were not calling for to raffle on a feet. She know what she know how hot will die in the country. In that president we are coming. All of them they were against her. That why they were against kids for. So any plan they get for the country.
Yeah, no. Sometimes I'm going to go back to the OS. But thank you. Yeah, thank you. Let's talk to this caller. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Your name, where you calling from?
Welcome Fofana and good morning to Assistant Minister Thomas.
Hiton Wulajedo.
Yeah, you got it right. The Popo Defender journey from Lokitan this morning.
Okay, go ahead.
Few days ago, ministers of our colleagues from the opposition were calling that President Weah left the country while we are going through calamities and the traveling will not be fruitful. But I was astonished last night when I saw a post from the E-Marshal informing Labrador people that the Director General from Morocco Taco Airport in Mr. Asa Abakiri committed to supporting NPA, more especially making referee to report him accounted the Greenville pool after Russia put a Greenville. They tell you that President Weah is willing to transform the country and the country rather. So I want to say on behalf of the citizens of Sino, we are overwhelmed because the port we have there actually needs some development. So
okay, let's talk to that caller. Good morning. Okay, 080-514-096. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sino. This is William B. Jabba coming in Propo calling.
Hey, William Jabba. Morning.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to take this time to tell you guys, thank you in the studio there.
Okay.
You know, my brother, we need to spread this arm of information, even down to some common men, like people like us,
Yeah.
on the local radio to propound. Because some of us carry information, but we don't have the means to sponsor it, to let our people know on the local radio.
Yeah.
But this government has done much. But what I discovered, many people don't know, and people who task with the responsibility just to be the information about the government are not doing so.
I mean, what would we know?
No, you're not ready, y'all. You're not ready, y'all. You're on a national stage. Please,
Okay.
don't misquote me.
Oh, the other people there on the local stage, eh?
Yeah,
Okay,
on the
all
local
right,
stage,
all
on the
right,
content level.
all right.
So,
Oh, okay. Hey, man, we're not sort of calling you up. Thank you. Yeah, but good morning.
good morning, Minister Parker Fofana.
Yeah, your name, where are you calling from?
Thank you. Let me say good morning to the Liberian people. The name is Kwewood William Covey, and I joined this conversation from District City.
Yeah, Kwewu, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. You see, I find it difficult to understand this government propaganda machinery, right? You see, when they get international boost, right, or international promotion, they will say it is their hard work that made them to get it. Indeed, the president is working. But if they get international likes from other organizations that may be corruption or other criticism, they say that the opposition will lobby against them for that. They will not say it is their inherent behavior that got them into those problems. So
But let the way y'all can say all the problem in Labrador that Ellen caused it, and then the other problem when the good one happen, then I Joseph Boakata, eh?
no, that's what we can say.
That's what you can say.
But yeah, because of the city, you can
That's what you can say.
Anyway, but yeah, if there are fair criticisms, we will
Please
accept
tell,
them. You know.
please tell Jabba that we didn't cut him off.
Yeah, Jabba, we didn't cut you off, man. Jabba, please call back. Yeah. If Jabba, if you're listening, please call back. I think it was some, wrong button that somebody pressed. But yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Parker.
Your name, where are you calling from?
This is Sango Harris calling from District number 2, Montserrat County. And Baka, let me be honest with you, I want to appreciate you this morning. You got a passing grade from my end to your end this morning. And I want you...
The millennial scorecard.
Yeah. I want to encourage you, and I will ask God to continue to bless you to propagate a message that pertaining to the Liberian people and to the president. But I can assure you, Baka, from the opposition and President, I can assure you, President, we are having no opposition in the country currently to contend with him.
Okay.
But I can recommend to you the problem that President we will face. If he take control as a political leader of the Mali Coalition for Democratic Change, it will affect him. My recommendation to you to see how he can go in various counties, various districts, and solving problems because the got some elements in our party and in the government that suffering a hard work that he continue to do for the Liberian people. And I'm calling on him this morning, Baka, when he take it very serious. I'm not bragging because I'm a member of the party and member of the government, supporter of the government. Hey, brother, we ain't taking serious. That's a little problem that he need to settle from the government angle and from the party angle.
What problem now? What problem?
They got some people in the party going the effort that brother we are creating across the country, going in various districts, various countries, removing people from their various position. It's an all crap currently in Montserrat County. They got a lot of districts. The Montserrat County chairperson now. He removing people who have strived over the year, over the time, their effort, their family, their resources, removing, creating chaos in the various districts. And it's a serious issue. The effort that President we are making to make the country better. If he take it serious, I'm going to embarrass him, and I'm assuring to you to please take it serious and flag to a lot of officials. Because when I'm saying that, people take it to be granted. But I appreciate you this morning on the platform for not electing our people and for the good work of our president. I can assure you, President, will be elected across the country.
Okay.
So put the mechanism in place. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's all the time we have for this morning's edition of the show. I'm sure the proper authorities, are listening to your concern. I see that the chairman is going around the place. The party chairman, Honorable Molba Molu, has been going, from county to county, mobilizing citizens for the 1 million citizen rally, for President Weah 2023, re-election for the nomination of the president. I think it's going to be happening on December 20th. 2022 at the SKD Sports Complex. They promise that it's going to be really massive. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this morning's edition of the show. Once again, we just want to say congratulations to the Liberian government. We want to say thanks for thanks to the folks at the Ministry of Finance specifically under the leadership of Minister Samuel D. Twere Jr. He did a wonderful job. Heading the team. I remember attending a few of those meetings, by the way. We're talking about the whole information, freedom of information side of things, and Minister Twere, was so, passionate and hardworking in all of those different meetings. There was another minister from the Ministry of Justice that a lot of people don't talk about. The Deputy Minister, she's a counselor. She's super, super, super smart. Kou, right? Kou, yeah. She's really smart. I mean, she was very instrumental as well in getting this done. All of them, have been in DC and all of those places. But that's all the time we have for this morning's edition of the show. Congratulations to Liberia. Just muster the courage as a political leader if you're out there. Congratulate the government of Liberia. Nothing's going to be taken away from you if you congratulate the government, because this is something that's done on behalf of the, that was achieved on behalf of the country. So if you're patriotic enough, as you claim that you want the best for the country, just come up, void of all the different, congratulations, but even though they didn't pass this, that, or other thing, just say congratulations, Join us again next week for a brand new edition of the show. My name is Boyka M. Fofana. I was here along with Daniel Nooks Thomas. Both of us presented this morning. This is MICAT Hour. We come your way every Friday right here at 8 a.m. on ELBC.